Hello and welcome to our channel Know to Know. Wendigo is a supernatural being belonging to a supernatural tradition of Algonquian speaking First Nation of North America. Wendigos are described as powerful monsters that have a desire to kill and eat their victims. In most legends, a human transforms into Wendigos because of their greed or weaknesses. Various indigenous traditions consider Wendigos dangerous because of their thirst of blood and their ability to infect otherwise healthy people or communities with evil. Wendigos legends are essentially cautionary tales about isolation and selfishness. A group of campers went missing in Alaska. I was sent to investigate. If you were to name a monster, I've most likely hunted it. I take assignments that send me all over the world and I get paid quite handsomely for it. It started like any other day. I woke up, went through my morning routine and received the call while I was eating some bacon, eggs out a local restaurant. The call was your typical missing person case. A group of 4 campers had gone out into the Alaskan wilderness and planned on being gone for a week. When they didn't come back 2 days after they were supposed to, the authorities were called in the search. They haven't reported back since the last night, and with Wendigo season about to be in full swing, I had an idea of what may have happened. Since work had been slow lately, I gladly accepted the job. I wouldn't need anything more than what I brought for most of my hunts, except winter gear, but I always liked to be over-prepared. My usual gear included heavy-duty gloves, a monk's wood plant, a crossbow with 12 bolts, a 9mm pistol fully loaded with silver-tipped rounds, and 2 extra clips along with some basic ration. This time, however, I would be taking my flamethrower along for the trip. As Wendigos and most creatures in general don't care for fire, as for the monkswood and silver-tipped rounds, both the monkswood poison and silver were lethal for anything I hunted. Something you may not know is that Wendigo tend to behave differently depending on where they live. In the lower 48, they usually are solitary, using their ability to mimic human vocal or lure their prey. In Alaska and Canada, they completely change up their hunting tactics. What they do in these regions to north is typically travel in groups of at least 4 or 5 and rush their prey. Whatever the reason, they are far more aggressive in these areas, and I advise you to not visit their territory from mid-October to mid-March. I felt the cold autumn breeze rustling my hair as soon as I arrived in Anchorage. The man who put in the call was waiting for me at the airport to talk more in depth about what happened. His heavy Russian accent made him hard to understand, but I got the gist of what he wanted to inform me about. The poor soul was worried to death of what may have befallen his daughter and her friends. Where things became interesting is when he told me that he didn't believe it was a Wendigo that had gotten the campers. I asked what he thought it was, but in his words, he dared not to speak its name. I won't lie, I was pissed. Maybe this poor old bastard had some meaningful information that could help me, but now I had nothing more to go on more than before. A normal hunter, I would have decided to turn back right there. I am not normal hunter. A massive well of curiosity overflowing with speculation opening up in my mind. I wanted so deeply to know what this possible mystery horror could be. Finally, something had reignited my passion. After years upon years hunting the same thing, I could have some changes, some excitement. I wished for this to be hunt of a lifetime. I came upon the campsite and at a time where I'd have about 2 or so hours of sunlight to work with, and it was necessary to move quickly. I had to walk nearly 5 miles from where I parked, feeling watched the entire time. It wouldn't be to my advantage to be stuck out in the night with a wendigo or whatever the mysterious stalked the night. There is only one advantage I'd have if it made to a night time. Surely it would. The moon was going to be full, so my surroundings would at least be illuminated enough for me to see. If I were a new moon, even a hunter as skilled as myself would be easy picking. Searching the campsite went as expected. It was completely derelict. Nothing in the woods around me was making a single sound. There was only pure, dead silence. Whatever came through there did made a pretty damn good amount of itself. Tents were ripped, and if they had been thought a paper shredder multiple times and were subsequently put into a blender. Droplets of blood were everywhere, staining the surrounding trees and what remained of the tents. Somehow, where a campfire had once been looked, it was like it was used to the night before I came to investigate. That meant someone around here was alive and was also smart enough to know that kept the wendigos at the bay. Or at least that's how it was supposed to be. A mangled body of a man littered with large gashes and bite marks lay a few feet away from the fire. At first glance, it looked like a cut and dry wendigo killing. The claw marks were consistent with a previous leftovers I've seen before, but the bite marks weren't. All of internal organs of this poor man were ripped out and eaten. Even with all of that, there was no blood from his corpse. This worried me more than anything. No monster I hunted before had ever left a corpse without blood, except vampires, and they didn't devour people's internal organs. Over by the bushes, I noticed a young woman and another man in the same state as their friend. Two more bodies that appeared to be akin to those of park rangers again had the same wounds. They had to be the search party. I scouted some of the nearby trees and I saw it, the body of a wendigo that was horribly disfigured. Its emaciated frame was completely broken and its antlers shattered. I knew then I had to either leave or stay and kill this mysterious demon. Against my better judgment, I enclosed myself within the campsite, using my flamethrower to create a ring of fire between myself and the tree line. All the while, something was still God at the back of my mind. There were 4 campers, 3 bodies. Something didn't add up. A weak, female voice spoke from a tall tree directly behind me. "You shouldn't have done that. That fire brought it here last time." I turned to see her visibly shaking, her clothes in tatters, her blonde hair a complete mess, her blue eyes full of tears and fear. I felt sympathy for her. I had once been like her in my earlier days. It was my first ever hunt. A werewolf had run me up into old attic and I was ready to throw everything away. Its evil red eyes glared is forever burned into my memory, constantly haunting my nightmares. In that moment I stood tall and became what I am now, a hunter that shows no mercy to monsters. Never show mercy, they will not return a favor. "Come up here," the girl screamed, having all of her faded life return to her. In that single instant, I hesitated. Skinwalkers often deploy this tactic on sympathetic people. However, she was right. No sooner than the girl had mentioned, I heard something barreling through the trees from my left. It was supernaturally fast. The branches snapped and the pine needles crunched. The beast's footfall became louder and heavier as it approached. I hesitantly climbed the tree. It was difficult with my gear, but I couldn't afford to leave any of it behind beside my flamethrower, which I discharged for my self-preservation. Somehow, I managed to elevate myself high to a high inner branch. I guess sheer willpower coupled with the adrenaline produced by unaltered fear can accomplish the nearly any physical feat of the strength. The girl made to scream as the behemoth burst into the clearing, but I was able to reach over and cover her mouth, albeit with some strain. In some clearing stood a massive wolf. If I had to guess, he was probably close to 7 feet tall at the shoulder. A light breeze blew through his thick white hair. A pair of gleaming evil red eyes were pointed up at me from the wolf, and his face was curled into snarl, revealing fangs dripping with crimson red liquid. The low-pitched, distorted howl he blew was beyond deafening. It was commanding and primal. The wolf paced around my ring of fire and stepped through it after one's full circle. Its hair wasn't signed even the slightest by the rolling flames. The wolf stayed until the moon had risen high in the sky, staring into my soul with its evil eyes the entire time. But once I could hear the trees rustling in the distance and unmistakable shrieks of wendigos. The wolf left, knowing these monsters as I did. I knew he would come back. He wanted both of us dead. But why hadn't he already killed us? Surely he had enough strength to ram the tree and knock it down, taking us with it and providing an easy meal. The beast could have leaped up with his powerful legs and kept doing so until one of us was pulled down along with him. As I tried to think of a way out of our predicament, the girl spoke to me for the first time in hours. "Why are you here?" she asked me, making the defeat she felt audible. "Some Russian guy called me to find out what happened to you guys. The better question is, how did you survive?" I questioned in return. "So, Natalie's dad sent you. I lived because they died. That thing almost got me, too, but it snagged my jacket. Instead, I've been up here for 3 days." I could feel the tears well up in my eyes. Luckily, I still had my pack with me. I pulled out a piece of jerky and water bottle and handed it to her. "Here, you need this more than I do. May I get your name?" She quickly but gratefully snatched it and started eating and drinking. "I know it's not much, but I won't let you die. Not if I can help it." Her voice perked up a bit after having her meager sustenance. "My name is Jillian, and thank you. I thought I'd starve up here. I hate to have to do this, but what do you know about the wolf?"